Hello. Okay, let me see here. Hello. All right. So everybody should be unmuted.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Dallas?
Doing all right, doing all right.
Good. Hey, Heather.
Hi, Professor Taylor. How are you?
I am doing awesome. Awesome sauce, baby.
Good.
How you guys doing? You guys hanging in there? Exercising your social distancing and all that wonderful stuff?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Heather, how's the campus? I know you're probably on campus. Or are you working from home?
I'm working from home, and everything is going great. A lot of projects to make sure that everything runs smoothly with our current situation.
All right. Well, that's awfully nice.
Yeah.
I don't have you guys on camera. Do you guys want to go on camera?
No,
Sure.
I'm okay.
Am I on camera? I should be. I might be on camera with my.
No, you're on camera.
I'm on camera?
Alabama background, yeah.
Yeah, with my Alabama background?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Roll Tide. Kind of ironic. I'm saying Roll Tide and I'm wearing an Arkansas Razorback sun visor. So,
I won't hold it against you too much.
well, Alabama is where we think the next boy is going to go, but the oldest boy went to Arkansas, so they can't hate me for that.
That's fair.
You got to go with the school that paid the tuition. So,
True.
but
Absolutely.
he's forever a Razorback. All right. Well, listen. So we've gone through week one.
Mhm.
Everybody seemed to have come through that in flying colors. Didn't have too many issues there. Although Heather did mention to me, I hope that I'm not calling her out, but she said, "I didn't know I could turn my assignment in late." And I retorted with, "I didn't know you could either." I thought that was the best comment so far.
I do my best.
Yes. Well, I enjoy you for it, Heather. It's but for future references, if ever in this crazy time, and I know you got a crazy job, yeah, stuff gets ahead of yourself. Just give me a quick, just ping me, by whatever means is easiest and quickest to you, and just tell me that, hey, I need another day. Okay.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah. So as long as I know it's coming, that that it's not, well, I didn't feel like doing it. I'm willing to work with you. Heck, I've been working with Dallas since January on his first post. So I mean, okay. Well, listen, this week two is, we're gonna dig in a little bit into OLAP and ETL and those kinds of things. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to go through the video. This video here, or this presentation, this is what I use to make the videos. Does it look familiar to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one of the things I try to do in every class is, in the event that the students don't get a chance to come to the Zoom training, excuse me, there's a video there that kind of goes through some of what I like to think is the most relevant stuff, so the students should feel like, okay, all right, I got this. The other advantages to it is that, so when you come to the Zoom training, we don't have to feel like, we got to go through whatever, because some of these things got 60 slides, although I never go to 60 slides on anything. A lot of it's just background noise and information. But, you know, I kind of do it because number one, sometimes the students get more out of it when we kind of go through it. And sometimes it's overkill because they've gone through the video and they say, well, you know, Professor Taylor, it's basically the same thing. So there is a little bit of redundancy there, and it's done on purpose. And then I sort of talked to you about, you know, today's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday today or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I'm a day off. See, I don't even know what day it is anymore because all the days look alike now. My room doesn't change. It doesn't morph into anything. So anyway, so yeah, so tonight you guys will have an opportunity to you know, to post and then, you know, get after your week 2 assignment. And so we, you know, we can go through those things as well. On my screen, this little thing here is blocking, so I think I can get rid of this. Yeah, I think I can get rid of that. And I don't know why Heather, how you say your last name? Is it Eccles?
Alice.
Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I got Eccles out of that. Okay. Well, thanks for that correction. Let me see, window. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about online analytical processing. You know, OLAP has a very long history in the data warehousing world. And hopefully you guys are familiar that everything that we're doing in business intelligence really emanates from the data warehousing industry, right? Everything, you know, because if it wasn't for the data warehousing industry, we wouldn't be talking about data and storing data. And I don't know, Heather, if you're old enough to remember Y2K.
No.
No, okay. So, oh baby. So Y2K was, if anybody who, you know, who was a Dallas, were you an adult at that time in 2000?
I was born in '96.
That's right. You did tell me that. You did tell me that. So you are my son's age. So yeah. So in 90, in about 98, I think my son saw Tiger Woods for the first time at the Motorola Invitational, which Tiger played at. My wife and I were both Motorola employees, so that was a tournament that we went to that tournament, and I think he wasn't 2, he was probably once. I think it was 97. So and he said something when Tiger was putting. So anyway, that's my only memory of 1997. But you know, so now he's 24 years of age. So wow, time sure has fast. So an overview. So we're going to look at a little bit of introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of OLAP. We're going to talk a little bit about the cube, and we're going to touch on, you know, the OLAP and OLTP, and so forth. So we're going to do a couple of little things here, just to give you guys get a little bit of background. So you know that OLAP stands for Online Analytical Processing. And it's just the computer processing that enables users to easily select, extract, and view data from different points of view. That's all it is. And you know, back in the day when data warehousing manufacturers or developers were creating this was just some of the, you know, the standard features that allowed users to analyze the database information from various database systems at one time. So this was back in the day. This was really, really revolutionary, right? So it goes as far back as 1993 when he came up, E.F. Codd came up with the term OLAP. And again, proposed, I'm not going to just read verbatim here, but you know, the term OLAP seems perfect to describe databases designed to facilitate decision making. One of the things that is very interesting about the whole data warehousing industry, everything back then was developed based on relationship. So that's why it's called, if you ever said RE, relational based marketing system, RBMS, right? And that's what it pretty much what it stands for. And Oracle, right? I don't know if Dallas remember, I kind of give you a little history of Oracle, and how Larry Ellison was basically, he's basically a data warehousing shop and sold service.
Yeah.
Right? And as they continue to, and Larry's a very ambitious man, and as the 90s, he grew and started taking on various components. But he used to sell a little bit of hardware too. Some popular OLAP server software programs include Oracle Express Server, Hyperion, Solutions S-Base. Now, back in the late 90s, everybody used to work with Hyperion, right? Now you almost don't even see it, right? Because it's probably, I think Oracle integrated them as well. So a lot of these things have since disappeared, but they've disappeared in name only, but they was absorbed by some of the bigger application developers, right? One of the things I shared with Dallas last week, Heather, was back in the late 90s, and I also told him back in the 90s, late 90s, we did not call this industry BI. BI was a term, it was coined by some folks, but it was never sort of a standard vernacular that the people in the industry who work, we didn't call it that. We call it, because I think that what happened was there was an eventual merge, but we back then in the late 90s, even the early 90s, mid 90s, we used to call it CRM, customer relationship management. Mm-hmm. Right? So when we went to a customer, it was a customer who was saying, I need to be able to manage my customers. Everything is going online. We got the emergence of, remember, 1996 was the passage of the Telecom Act, right? And with the passage of the Telecom Act, or the internet finally, was kind of gaslighted, so it was at that point where everybody was kind of screaming, and then the internet, everybody was now putting all kinds of stuff on the internet. Everybody who had an idea started an internet business. So we knew it as CRM, customer relationship management, and it meant different things, different components for different people. And we talked about Siebel as the big 800-pound gorilla in the space, and what Siebel was doing, and everybody. I mean, Siebel was like Microsoft Power BI. It was the 800-pound gorilla in the space. Everybody wanted Siebel because Siebel gave you an application that allows you to do 360-degree view of your customer. So the call center, account exec, you name it, you could reach out, and also online customers. And so all of the various touch points. And that's really what they were trying to do, was integrate all the touch points. Right. And so with all that, so keep in mind, that is what brought all the data into one centralized location, i.e. the data warehouse. So now there was a need for a lot of these people with this data to now, okay, how are we going to slice and dice and make sense of it? And OLAP started to become more and more important. Right. For people that wanted to do data mining as well. Right. So the OLAP product typically designed for, sort of multiple user environment. So you can have marketing, you can have finance, you can have accounting, because marketing could use the same database to pull data that was laid out in the cube fact function, and you could sort of pull the data by all the various rows and columns that were prearranged. Okay, and you'll see a little bit of that, right? Okay, so here's a little bit of what it looks like. You got the data source on the left hand side there. SQL Server, source data Excel. And again, even though there's just 3 shown here, the data could be coming from a myriad of things, right? And even today, the data is very different. The data is now coming in via web, text, flat files, a whole host of things, right? And you see what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get the data and import it into the data warehouse, right? And this right in here where you see data import, that's where the whole ETL function is, right? Extraction, transformation, load, right? So we want to take the data, the raw data that's being pumped. So just think of yourself as a, let's say a big consumer goods company like Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? So you have this huge IT operations. They've got all this distribution hub. The headquarters in Cincinnati, but they got all this distribution hubs, and they want to know, how much Tide they're selling, right? Both liquid and powder. They also want to know how many Pampers we're selling, right? And how much toilet paper, their particular brand, detergent, all the stuff. It's consumer goods company, all the stuff that that Procter & Gamble sells, right? They want all that data, right? That's coming off of, and they're also probably trying to get grocery store data, POS data, point of sales data, right? And they're trying to look at that as well because they want to know what's moving, right? And what's moving, what's selling where. So because they want to know from a logistics standpoint, they want to know what should be coming out, what's the mix in the various factories in the Northeast, Southwest, Northwest, Midwest, and so forth. So all that information is going into that data warehouse. It gets processed. It now just gets put into the various cubes, the OLAP cubes. And as you can see on the right side, the various application queries that are being hit, right? So this could be any of the functional groups. It could be, like I said, it could be finance, it could be marketing, it could be operations, and it could be the sales organization as well, right? Because the salespeople want to know what's going on in their market, what's going on with their product mix, what's going on with their customers before they go. So an account executive needs to have access to this information as well. Okay, so an OLAP cube is the data structure that allows fast analysis of data. The arrangement of data into cubes overcome a limitation of relational database, right? We touched a little bit on that. All the databases back then were relational databases. Today, not so much. Today we have different types of data. We do not put data that is not relationally structured into a relational database. It's impossible to do that. So, but this is the history of databases. Everything was developed based on the relational model. So what happens is in modern times, as we started to, they coined the term big data. Big data, it's a lot of data, it's lots of different types of data. So now we're looking at all kinds of data. And a lot of data that we're looking at, for example, if you're a hospital or a big pharma or a big insurance company, whatever, you have a lot of data coming into you that you're going to process. Well, some of that data is a CAT scan, right? Some of that data is an MRI file. Some of that data is a whole host of things, right? And you have tons of volume of data just coming in. Well, that's not, we're not going to put that in a relational database. Number one, it won't fit, and there's no way to, we can't make it relational, right? It's not numbers, anything. It's a picture. It's a file. So hence the emergence of Hadoop, and some of the other ancillary stuff that have come on the marketplace to kind of help with that. So what they don't do is take this new data and this new format that MapReduce and Hadoop and others have kind of figured out how to treat. So what they don't do is they say, well, okay, we don't need the relational database anymore, so we're going to move away from that. No, they don't. That's not what they've done. What they've basically said is, okay, we have this other system that handles that. Now, Heather, have you had any exposure to how Full Sail is maybe doing any of this?
Yes. You know, we do have a number of different approaches depending on which databases we're looking at and how we want the information to come together.
Right.
So I have seen, you know, OLAP cubes being used. I have seen the ETL architectures. They're incredibly complex because they are pulling from our LMS, they are pulling from our CRM, they're pulling from so many different areas, even our CUIC for Cisco reporting. So it's really phenomenal how you can bring all that information together.
Yes, yes, it's amazing, and like I said, it has grown so much because the context of the data has changed, not morphing to one to another, but has expanded and includes a whole slew of new categories of what we call data. And so people don't get rid of the relational stuff because that's still important, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like I say, if you're Procter and Gamble or you're Publix or one of those big grocery chains, you ain't don't touch my relational database. You kidding me? We got history of stuff in there.
Yeah, and they also serve very, very different purposes,
Yes.
which is great.
Yes, yes. And so, like, and that's one of the things. And so, I'm so glad you're in the class because we can get some sort of real time feedback about, you know, what are some organizations currently doing, and and how they. So, do you guys have a Hadoop application?
I am not entirely sure, but I can absolutely ask our data director, which would be Jillian
Yeah,
Berry.
yeah, and they may not be, but that's fine. You know, like I said, you see it in other industries that certain types of data are so much more relevant to. Like I said, you know, you see it in pharma, you see it in healthcare, under the big umbrella healthcare. You see it a lot there. Okay, so let's look at the cube a little bit. So you see the data warehouse, again, relational database. We have the dimensional models, and then you load it, access to the detailed data, and then it goes in this multi-dimensional cube and this cube sits on an OLAP server, and it's really compartmentalized. There's another slide I have. It's not part of this deck. It's really a good slide. And so the data sits there. It gets, you access it from the end user tool. And the application, now here's two companies that used to stand alone. See, under analytical applications, it says Business Objects and Cognos. Okay, those used to be two standalone companies right there. Business Objects was one of the companies that really pioneered the cube technology. They were really behind it. Cognos is another company. All of these companies were absorbed. If I'm not mistaken, Business Objects was acquired by SAP. And so they're now part of SAP's application. Business reporting application, a dashboard manager. There's a whole slew of those things out there. Most applications developers will give you their own, and like Oracle have their own reporting tool. Data mining, SAS mining, you know, and SPSS were two kind of analytical tools that people used to use. They were standalone model applications, and I think both of them have since been absorbed. I think SPSS is now part of IBM, and I think SAS is still. I think SAS is. I don't know who has SAS anymore. I'm not sure. I got too many things in my head. But they used to be standalone applications. Okay, so OLTP versus OLAP, right? So online transaction processing. This is the source of the data, the purpose of the data, the queries, the processing speed, space requirement, database design, backup and recovery. Those are the advantages that OLAP have over OLTP. The online transaction processing, again, it's more or less cookie cutter stuff coming from, grocery chain, just volumes of data coming in and, okay, how many widgets did we sell? Boom. What was the average price? Boom. All right. How many oranges, how many greens, how many blues, right? Where OLAP gives you a little bit more refinement, right? Operations of OLAP, right? There are different kinds of operations which we can perform in OLAP. So you can roll up, you can drill down, you can slice and dice, you can pivot, you can drill across, you can drill through. So it allowed you to really kind of get at turn the data and look at it. So if you're a financial analyst, right? Again, I like to go back to my favorite example, Procter and Gamble, or General Mills up in Minneapolis, another consumer products good company. More in terms of their product mix a little bit different. They have more. You'll see a lot of cereal and pancake mix and candy and and a whole host of different things. Cheerios is one of their big things. And then down in Illinois, you have Post, right? The Kellogg company. So one of the things, if you're a finance guy and you're working for the detergent side of Procter and Gamble, you want to be able to do sensitivity analysis and kind of understand, what's really going on. So you're going to be flipping the data. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you want to be able to go in and again, as a financial analyst, you spend a lot of time crunching numbers, and then you take it to your boss and says, okay, for my level one meeting, which is everybody above, maybe a level above him or how high he's going to go, he's going to have you, the little analyst, there pounding these things and look at it in all different ways, because he wants to be able to give a readout in terms of how the products are selling, and what does it look like overall, right? When they look at sort of the entire market. Okay. So what does roll-up mean? It takes the current aggregation level of facts values and does a further aggregation on one or more of the dimensions, right? So it could be regional, it could be by product, it could be by customer, i.e., if you're selling certain products into Walmarts, now you're moving tons of product, right? There's enough there to keep you busy, right? The equivalent of doing group by to this dimension by using attributes hierarchy. So select the attribute list, attributes the sum, attribute names, from, table list, where, condition list, group by, and so forth, right? So those are some of the features of the roll-up. Drill down, summarize data at a lower level of a dimension hierarchy. It increases the number of dimensions, adds new headers. So as you can see, I don't know how clearly that you could see what was going on in quarter one. And they were taking the numbers from there. They can drill up, right, to go over at your left-hand side there, where you can sort of, look at what's happening in quarter one. You could look at it in terms of markets. You got Belgium, USA, Canada, and France. You could drill down. You can look at the same quarter one, but now you're looking at the locations, right? So your location, it by city. So you have, I think it says Paris, Toronto, Amsterdam, and so forth, right? So that's the thing about the cube. It allows you to kind of get into it. Now remember, this thing is sort of pre-dimensioned, right? So you get to set the parameters of what's in the cube and how the cube is developed. So when the end user is hitting it, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of guesswork that they have to do, because if the analyst has to say, oh God, where can I find this information, then that doesn't serve the purpose. Perform a selection on one dimension of the given cube, sets one or more dimension to specific values, and keep a subset of dimension for selected values. So everything is kind of sort of pre-populated with what kind of what each dimension, what is contained within it, right? At DICE, we define a subcube by performing selection of one or more dimension. Refers to range selection condition on one dimension, or to select conditions on more than one dimension. It reduces the number of member values of one or more dimensions. Okay. Now, if you wanted to take a deep dive, when you get to data mining, it pushes into this detail a little bit. So just kind of take it for, as a nice little survey. This whets your appetite. So when you get into data mining, you're going to get a wonderful book that has a little bit more information, and it kind of goes into this. There's a whole chapter dedicated to this. Okay. And then obviously we have sort of pivot within the cubes, which rotates the data access to view the data from different perspectives, group data with different dimensions, right? So item, location, time, and so forth. And you can just flip it, right? Drill across and drill through. Drill across accesses more than one fact table that is linked by common dimensions, combine cubes that share one or more dimension. Drill through is when you drill down to the bottom level of a data cube, down to its back end relational tables, okay? So what are some of the applications? Well, we talked about it. I touched on it a little bit when we talk about if you're in the finance organization. You will definitely be spending a lot of time using a lot of OLAP type applications to do this work. Marketing and sales application also spend quite a bit of time, because marketing wants to know how to build campaigns, and they want to understand what's the sensitivity, in the various market, what's selling, what's not, and why is it not selling? Is it the price point? Is it that our sales force is not, we're not pushing enough? Again, just think about what goes on in the grocery, right? Do we have end caps displays? We have specials. What are we doing, right? And all of that, when they do that, really comes down to business modeling, right? That's what the application will do for you. So what are some of the advantages? Consistency of information and calculation. You can do a lot of what if scenarios. It also allows managers to pull down data from an OLAP database in broad or specific terms. OLAP creates a single platform for all the information and business needs: planning, budgeting, forecasting, reporting, and analysis. And most of that that you see there that I just touched on happens in finance. Is that not true? If you guys were finance weedy, you'd be so excited. But I could tell you guys are not. Okay. What are some of the disadvantages? It's pre-modeling. Well, I mentioned that to you. Great dependence on IT. So it means that Heather will always have a job.
Which I am grateful for.
Yes, aren't we all? And it's kind of slow in reacting. But they're making some strides with that now. We have computer speeds have gone through the roof because of the cost of storage. To derive, summarize information from large volume data, and generate automated reports for human view. So that is really one of the great insights and, the word I'm looking for. But when OLAP came on the scene, I guess, 93, it was revolutionary. Now, it didn't catch on as quickly, because these things always gets developed kind of in isolation, and then everybody kind of gets it, right? And that's why I mentioned to you Business Objects was one of those companies, because I remember in 1998, a lot of people were afraid of Business Objects. They were like, "Oh, that's the Cube company." You know, they were off. Really, they were off to the side doing their own thing. You know, so you could just imagine what the conversation was like in 1998. You know, people weren't using business objects as much. It started to get better as people recognized, because all business object did was they just took their analytical engine and built it on that Cube platform. So everything they did was based off of the Cube. So that's why, so some companies they said, "No, we're going with business objects. We think we get more bang for our buck with business objects." Okay. So OLAP is a significant improvement over query systems. OLAP is an interactive system to show different summaries of multidimensional data by interactively selecting the attributes in a multidimensional data cube. And that was the revelation. That is what, made the whole thing what it is, Okay. All right. So I wanted to go over that. We have done so. And so the next thing I want us to just do is, okay, can you see my screen?
The references page?
No, hold on. Let me see here. What am I showing? Stop. No, I don't want to do that. Ooh, new share.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Okay. You see it now? I should be back on the full sail page. Okay. Yep. Bear with me. I am learning too. Dallas, I got to tell you, Dallas, it's so embarrassing, right? You remember last week when we had that great session?
Yeah.
And I had like about 60 minutes or so of Zoom presentation. Well, at about a minute into the presentation, I stopped sharing. I stopped it because I wanted to switch something.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So I went through all of that, and at the end, when it says, "Do you want to save what you've done?" I said yes. It saved 1 minute and 13 seconds.
Oh no.
So, which is, see, and here's the difference for me. I am so used to the other system that, that I could move around and do different things, and I wouldn't lose anything because it wouldn't stop recording, right? But when you're using the new Zoom, there's some new tricky features, and if you don't understand it, you'll get an aha moment, which is what I had. So I was like, okay, all right. I'm not gonna pull my hair out. I don't have that much anyway. But we'll get through this. Any questions, by the way?
Nothing about the presentation. I just had a question about the it's more about the discussion posts.
Okay.
In the second one, you had mentioned about reading an article and give the pros and cons.
Okay. You having trouble with the
I guess my question is, I was able to find a couple pros, and I was only able to find like maybe one con. Is it just kind of like up to like interpretation on our end?
Well, if you go back to, did you get the? Well, let's go back. Hold on. Let's go back to. Let me go back. Let's go back. Let me just do something here for a quick second. Let me see if it's there. All right, it's right here. Okay. All right. So the three ETL compromises to avoid. Do you remember accessing any of this information?
Yeah, the one you had suggested looking at was should you use an ETL tool?
Right. Right. So and also there's the ETL compromise to avoid the article from Information Week. Did
Right.
were you able to get into that?
Yes.
Okay. And it didn't. She didn't talk. Hold on. Let me see here. I don't see my article with Claudia. Um, okay. This should have been, I thought this is where we had the Claudia Imhoff from Kimball. Okay, this is Kimball. All right, let me just click on this and see what happens. Don't make a liar out of me. Critical data breach. What? Okay. Wait, whoa. Your screen's here. Okay. Okay. All right. So it has three compromise to avoid. Okay. So one of the things that I thought when I posted this a while back, in his last article, 6 key decisions for ETL architecture, right? So the intent was if you move around quite a bit on some of these things, it kind of tells you what are some of the things that what are pros and the cons, some of the things you should do and some of the things you can do, right? So your question was what again?
The should use an ETL tool. Like that one, I wasn't able to find that much about pros and cons,
Okay.
but I guess
did you let me just ask you, sorry to interrupt. Did you do a Google search on it? Should I use an ETL tool?
I did.
You did? And what came up?
I tried looking up the article, but then I was trying to look up the article, but I couldn't find it, and then I scrolled down some more and I found it. But also, I don't remember if there was a whole lot about pros and cons in the development stage, as most of it was just kind of just talking about the different stages.
Right. And that was the stuff from Kimball University. I mean, I'm back there at that again. And I thought it had, I've never had that question before. So here's advantages to ETL tools.
Right.
Should you use an ETL tool? And, as you read through there, you'll get some pros. Did you glean that from the article?
Yeah, I got a good bit of pros, but I was trying to balance it out with the cons, but I only was able to find one con, I guess, or maybe two out of this article, but I didn't know how many you were specifically looking for.
No, I don't think I asked for a designated number.
Okay.
There is a place where there's more information, but I don't think you might have the book. The Business Intelligence Roadmap by Moss and Archery.
We do not.
Huh? Do you have that, Heather?
No, we don't.
Okay. Yeah, it was just a supplementary book. It's I was given that. I was introduced to that book many moons ago by a young lady who was a consultant, and she had a minority-owned firm. 2 women started their data warehousing company out of Atlanta, and I thought it was a great book. So it's something I think they should have a revised edition of it. Great book to have. and I think Moss and Autry have updated it. But it really talks about the business intelligence roadmap. You know, what you should be doing at different phases throughout your project life cycle. But yeah, but Dallas, I don't think you have to match it up unless you do some extensive probing and you came away saying, oh yeah, this is not something that I would do.
Okay.
You know, but you can, there's a lot that there's like off the top of my head, one of the things that we always tell a client is understand what your back office capabilities are, i.e., if you don't have a very robust and strong IT organization and you're doing a business intelligence implementation, you want, if you're going to buy a software, most companies now will give you some ETL capabilities, but it always has to, you always have to massage it. It only gives you a framework of this and that, but there's a lot of fixing that you know what I'm saying? It's like going to the to the men's clothier and buying a suit. If you look like the mannequins that they use to make those suits, then it'll fit you fine. But if you go and built like me, with a 42 width shoulder, long arm, right, and a 20, it's probably not 28 anymore, but it used to be 28, my waist, probably now it's a 30. Those are not dimensions they make clothes for.
No.
Right? How does a guy who have a 42 shoulder and a 30-inch waist? That doesn't happen very often. So athletes, I share this with you because this is what I used to hear a lot when I went to buy my suits. Oh boy, here comes the alterations, right? So that's the issue with whether you want to buy an ETL tool off the rack or you want to custom design the ETL, because ETL is very time consuming, and it's where, in our industry, it's where if you're a consulting firm, you want the company to say, we don't want to buy a tool, we want to do it. We have some IT thing, or better yet, they say to us, hey, Ernst & Young, why don't you just do the whole kit and caboodle? And we will smile like a Cheshire cat in the background, like, yeah. Why? Because all of our billable fat is right there. It's like pork bellies, right? It's intricate work, it's time-consuming work, but because it's time-consuming at our billable rate, it's where we make most of our money. So the question is, so if a tailor was to really tell me, yeah, I can sell you that suit, Michael, for $800, but by the time I go through all the alterations for you, it's going to be $1,400. Then I'll say, nah, well, no, thank you. So that's really what I want you to think about when you think about ETL, right? Do you want to buy something off the rack? That's something that you're going to have to, the client will have to give you enough information and communicate it to your IT, the CIO, and really make the organization comfortable that everything that they provide in their package will do what you need. And the only time we found that works sort of one-to-one is if they're working within the same vertical, i.e., they've done extensive work with Pepsi, and now they're trying to do the same type of work with Coke. So same vertical, so all the mistakes they made with Pepsi and all the lessons learned, you're going to benefit. But if not, a lot of it is trial and error, it's new, and it's coding. And so it takes a lot of time. So those are some of the risks that you take. If you believe that this is going to be if you buy it off the shelf, it's going to be some kind of seamless integration. Okay? Have I beat that to a pulp?
Of course.
You ain't supposed to answer that in the affirmative, Dallas. You know, he gives me a hard time every time, Heather. You know, he's always taking shots at me.
It's only been the second week.
He's keeping you on your toes.
Yes, he is. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get even with him. I'm gonna get even. I get the final. I get the final say so, and when I get to that professionalism grade.
Whoa, wait a minute.
That'll teach him.
Yeah, that'll teach you to come at the professor like that, you know. And then I have him for data mining in 2 more months. Oh, okay. All right. So, and the final assignment of the week is going to be your BI Power Desk example.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be fun. Follow the video. Last week. I didn't know I had to do this, but one of the students was having major trouble, and he was sending me some feedback codes that he was getting inside of Power BI, and I was like, well, what is he doing that's giving? I've never seen those messages before. So I went in and pulled up the data and followed, and because I hadn't done it in a while, and I was just following. So I said, okay, I'm going to do what the student is expected to do. And I was going through the video and stuff like that. And so after I went through it all, I was like, okay. So I called him and we talked on the phone. And I was like, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you pull this up? And at some point he was like, oh, I saw what I did wrong. And he said, I got it, Professor Taylor. I got it now. And he was able to turn in a perfect assignment. It is not that, it may be a little time consuming, so allow a little bit of time, and it's not that bad. So it's amazing. Some students blow through it in like a day. Some students says, yeah, I had to watch the video, multiple times. Yeah, and that's to be expected. But if you follow it through, this exercise is what we wanted to accomplish with this exercise was to constantly keep your hand in the Microsoft Power BI tool. So that was the overarching goal, was to keep you working with the tool in every class.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not a very difficult assignment, but it's a good hands-on, and all the data, as you can see, the data is there. Okay. Now, the one thing that I told him that he might have to do was I said, you might have to create a folder on your desktop and put all those XLS files in it, and then pull over the folder. And then as you go through it, it'll ask you, just follow the guidelines, and it'll show you what you need to do. Should be no problem. Okay. But again, that is really this assignment, to take that data and go through and do everything that is already prescribed for you. And it shows you how to take this bunch of data and massage it a little bit. They teach you all of that in Power BI. Any questions?
No, that makes sense.
Not from me.
Okay. If you have any questions, don't call me. I'm just playing. Okay. All right. And so that basically takes care of the week 2 assignment. Yeah, this is an easy week. This is the calm before the storm.
I have no complaints.
Yes. Okay. Well, good. If there's no more questions, I think we can put a bow on this and end the evening.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Make sure you're still recording.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna find out. I didn't touch anything, right? It still says it's sharing, so I'm good, So when I get off here, it's gonna be okay. Let's see what we got. All right.
If you do run into any issues, Professor Taylor, just feel free to reach out to me. That's one of my products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I knew Heather would pay big dividends. I just didn't know when, but she's already paying dividends. I love it. Thank you, Heather. I will definitely reach out to you. If I can do anything else to help you guys, please, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll make it happen. All right?
Well, thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, y'all have a fantastic week, and I will chat with you guys next week.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Okay. Have a good night. Bye
All
bye.
right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
The moment of truth.